able to say, this one better than that better than the other, or those two things are the same. And if those two things are the same, then if I add a little bit to one of the bundles, they'll prefer that bundle. So there's two bundles you think are exactly the same, two cake ice cream bundles that for you give the same utility, you are indifferent, and I add a half a scoop of ice cream to one of them, then they'll say, I'll take the one with a little more ice cream, thank you. Because I used to be indifferent, I like ice cream, got a little more ice cream, take it. That's the difference between don't care. The teenager, after you add a little more and say what you like now, will still say don't care. That person does not have preferences. They do not fit within our model. Actually, they have strong preferences, they just don't tell their parents, but they are. So people have preferences. I'm certainly willing to say that when people make choices of very ordinary goods, their choices reflect their preferences. I have no problem saying that, but I'm an economist. But what about other situations? So I want to break the idea that the only possible explanation for what people do is preference. So I'm going to take a couple of really, well, first the question is, why do you give money to beggars? Let me start with that. I'll give you two kinds of answers. First, someone's going to have to read this, which used to be read by all school kids. And there's one line you should recognize. So anyone who's good with English written a couple hundred years ago can go for it. Or anyone who thinks it would be an interesting challenge. What, somebody going to read? Go ahead. Okay, so that's a famous passage. You've heard of it before? How many people have ever heard any part of that before? All right, good. So now you've heard the whole thing. So we have a problem. Do people have preferences over bundles? Does John Donne have preferences over bundles? What? Yes, no, what do you think? Yeah. What's he doing? Does he care about the bundles he consumes? Yeah, and therefore, it's not just about the bundles he consumes, is it? Okay, so John Donne has what we would today call interdependent utility. He's going to be unhappy because you're unhappy. So you probably want to live with people like that. You probably don't want to live with the economist tribe. We may have better parties. We can go into the pluses and minuses. So that's an example where you have preferences over what you consume, but your happiness is also influenced by what other people consume. He's within our framework, though. He's unhappy because something bad happened to someone else. It's very much within our framework. It's just enlarged it and said, wait a minute, it's not just what I got. I also care about what other people got. So that's one. Here's a much older and much easier to read. Someone want to read that one? Yeah. So, you got any choices here? Is there any choice being made? So this guy, Donne, says you leave it for the beggar because I care about other people involved in mankind. What does that say? Yeah, it says do it now or else, right? So that's two very different reasons. This is totally out of our model. You know, our model is people make choices, they make choices to make themselves happy, and Donne says, yeah, but remember those choices involve other people, and we have economists who've spent a long time dealing with interdependent utility and what would happen in an economy with it and stuff like that. And this is just straight out command. You have to take care of beggars and strangers. That's your responsibility. We're done here. So you get some very different answers. That's, I think, out of our tradition. I'm not sure which one I like better. I mean, they both have something. Oh, so if you believe that, you should leave the cans in the bottles for the guys who come to take them because it's their only income. So here we have grandchild 2, who just turned 4. And we have this concept of veil of ignorance. So he doesn't know at this point what role he gets to play in society. He actually doesn't know very much of anything, if I don't miss my guess, because I think he's on the order of a couple of minutes old, given the hospital tray. I would say he's just been weighed and handed back to his mom. So he's about as little knowledge as any human's going to get and still be out here breathing. And the veil of ignorance idea is what happens if, in a thought experiment, you go to Ezra when he's just born. Say, Ezra, there are these two worlds I'm going to describe to you. One is we're going to take Donne or Leviticus seriously, and we're going to take care of people who fall through the cracks one way or another. And the other is we're going to go Milton Friedman's way, and we're going to have capitalism and freedom. That's the title of the book. If you have not found it, go find Capitalism and Freedom. So the question is, here, he doesn't know whether he's going to be the guy who falls through the cracks, or he's going to be the guy who owns the billion-dollar company that distributes, does logistics to distribute coal, Koch Carbon. He just doesn't know which role he's going to have. He's still behind the veil of ignorance. John Rawls' contribution is to say, what would he vote for before he knows? Not what you vote for now, because now you have a pretty good idea that you're going to end up on top of the carriage, not in the gutter. But he has no such idea at this point. And so you can use this device to ask what's fair. What would somebody have voted for before it turns out they were lucky or unlucky? And that would be an interesting way of reincorporating the problem of beggars into your preference world. He could, in theory, have preferences over would he like a tax system more like the Swedish tax system, where the number of people who fall through the cracks is de minimis, or would he like to go with the American system where it's larger, but you have a bigger chance of landing on top? And then you could sensibly talk about preference and beggars, but you have to come back to the point where people don't know which of the two they are. Do we have enough time? Yeah. All right. So this is my poster perfect alcoholic or drug addict. I really think of her as a heroin addict. I don't know why I think of it as a her. Probably because I had some friend who was too close to that. That was a her. So the picture perfect addict hurts nobody but herself. And you have to push it quite far to make that work. I mean, she knows when she shoves the first spike in there that she's got about 5 years to live, that it's going to get ugly towards the end, that she's probably going to die of an infection or not having gotten anything to eat. All of this stuff she knows. And she's already bought the grave. She's paid up her insurance policy for 5 years, so she won't be a burden on you, and so on and so forth. Right? She is the picture-perfect heroin addict. There's no real person like this. I have no idea. But that's another matter. So I want to ask a very simple question. You know this person. Are you going to save her? Okay? A very simple question. Do you want to save her? Should you save her? Remember, in my story, she knows exactly what she's doing. She's doing this as free choice. She's choosing her bundle. She's not causing externalities. And, it's going to be really sad. But what are you going to do? Okay.
Well, kind of off, would you kind of read this like, but isn't there a possibility of what they could do if they didn't die in 5 years?
Okay. And spin this out for me.
So, like, let's say that they get clean, get a scholarship to a university, and find a way to cure addictions of the first time. What if they were able to do that? And I'm saying,
So you're trying to break my story by saying if she lived, she would create a positive externality. If she gets paid for it, it doesn't work anymore, right? Because then it's just a market transaction. But she's going to create some great positive externality if only she doesn't do this.
but I think that there's also a side that she could also not necessarily create a great positive externality, but there's a possibility for it. If there's something in the future that there's a possibility.
Oh, you're going to be a good economist, and I'll go that you have managed to break my story. Well, you're given a good reason, right? So you're given a reason within our economic theory. This person's made choices, but by making her choices, she stopped giving good externality. And so other people are hurt because she didn't stick around and write down what she learned, right? So you've broken it that way. And even though she knows this is true, when she makes her choice, she's affecting other people, not herself, so you're out of the box. Now, in reality, of course, you're not going to save her for that reason, right? Just so clear. Anyone else want to have a whack at my picture-perfect heroin addict? Okay, so you're just going to go back to Don. You can go back to Don. You can wrap yourself all around John Donne, 200-year-old preacher, and say, John Donne already told me the answer to this. I'm involved with humanity. I don't want to hear the bell toll for her, and I'm going to do what it takes. And I don't care what she thinks, because I think it's wrong for her, and you can go that way. The hard part here is that you're going against her preferences. She thinks it's best to take the spike. What? I'm not going to let you persuade her. She really knows her own mind. She's a strong individual. She's done all the reading. She knows all the facts. She's not crazy. I mean, I'll just go forever. But you're going to say, look, I'm involved with humanity. I care about the fact that if she dies, I realize I'm violating what she wants, but it's what I want because I'm involved with humanity, and that's the way it's going to come down. And, if you went to church, you went up to whoever your preacher is, and you told him the story, and you told him your answer, you get a pat on the back, and yes, bad girl, right? That's what you get. Anyone else want to whack at her? Well, she doesn't exist, of course, but that's another matter. All right, so how many would save her? Even though it's not her desire. I want to see high hands. How many would do it? How many would respect her preference to go? Yeah, it's very even these years. If I had asked that question, which I'm sure I had 20 years ago, I think you would have found that the number of people who would have argued basically John Donne would have been 3/4. And now I think it's only half. So either you're better economists or you have less compassion. I'm not sure. Now, of course, she doesn't exist, so maybe that's not a fair question. If it were really one of your friends who were a heroin addict, she wouldn't have any idea or any really good idea what was happening next. So how many of you would say a real heroin addict was one of your friends? Yeah, okay. That's a little better. And if you have a choice of who to hang out with, see who raised their hands who would save even the one who was my picture postcard one. Hang out with them. They're the ones you want as friends. All right, this is a little ugly. What about preferences? I'm sorry, I had to pick on somebody. So we had a diabetes epidemic. It's clearly a matter of preference. Why didn't my generation have diabetes? As near as I can tell, it's because we couldn't afford it. I'm being serious. So when I was, say 6, if I wanted a soda, there was some chance I could beg a nickel off of my Aunt Ann, in which case she'd give a nickel to each of 5 of us boys. And we would walk 3/4 of a mile to the little store on Corporal Kennedy Street, and we'd buy a Coca-Cola, which was a 6-ounce affair. Go look at what an old Coke bottle was. Or take a new Coke bottle and look and see how many servings it has. It'll say 2 servings on it, because the original bottles were 6 ounces. So we'd walk 3/4 of a mile up there on a hot day on the weekend. We'd sit outside, down our Cokes, which we try to drag out, but 6 ounces goes down pretty damn fast, even if you're a little kid. Then we'd walk back. Well, I'm not sure we got much ahead on the calorie scale there, as we had to walk a mile and a half, and I'm sure we didn't do it by the most direct route. I mean, there were railroad tracks and backyards and parks and stuff. Probably take all day being out. And that was our world. And, my son will get off a bus in a couple of hours from school, living in downtown Berkeley, and he might just walk into, Baskin Robbins, or what do we have down there? I'm not sure we have down there anymore, and buy, a small soda, and, then get on the bus and go home, and he could have 10 minutes of exercise and, 40 ounces of soda. I couldn't have done that. So my real thought about what's happening is you're all much richer than we were. Just phenomenally so. And when you got more money, you simply bought more food. We could not do that, mostly, because we couldn't afford it. So now you can. But what do you want to say about it? Also plates, by the way. If you find a set of plates from just around the war, they're smaller than today's dinner plates. They're substantially smaller. Today's ones are, forget the restaurant plates. It's just dinner plates like this. Dinner plate used to be like that. If you look at old dinner plates, you'll be surprised. People really did take less of everything. So what do you want to say about this? Is this preferences? And what's wrong with the story is preferences. First of all, is it preference? I mean, you hand people more money. They could have only dropped 6 ounces of soda and used their money for something else, but they didn't. we had less income when we were kids, and our parents had less income than the people you pointed today as low income. Okay? And you're absolutely correct. I'll tell you what I think. I think is when your group goes through the income expansion, then you have a really fast weight expansion. And then in a generation or two, people learn how to handle it. And so who's ever just got the income is going to really pop up in weight. That's what I think really happens. But yeah, people are going to really pop, and it is going to be the lower income. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, just think in terms of how much we ate out. We ate out approximately never. And people today, all income levels, eat out all the time. We could not afford to go to White Castle and buy a hamburger. And certainly, it would be a treat, or a pizza parlor would be a treat. Like once a month, we could talk Uncle Eddie taking us, all of us out for pizza. So, no, we really did have a very different lifestyle. I think a great deal less food expenditure. That's what I think. So I can tell that you guys think it's almost the hour. We have like 2 more minutes, and I'll finish this, and you'll be out. Don't worry. So what's wrong with it is preferences. What's wrong is, even if it is preference, when somebody gets this big, they will impose costs on everybody else. Because like it or not, you're all tied together in the health system. So to say this person decided to eat too much food and they got way too fat, I mean, even if you believe the story that it's preference, it's not something else, then you still have a problem. You still have a public problem. Their cost of treating their illnesses will fall on all of you. So even though I might say this person made a choice, this person will not bear all the consequences. So it's not a good example of somebody took their income and chose their bundle and no one else got hurt. That's my view of the diabetes. And I will see you next time.